We're Mark and Bev, and this is The Good Life. Welcome to our channel. 6 months ago, we bought our first campervan, who we affectionately call Pete. We'd never done any kind of camping or caravanning, so it was all totally new to us. Today, we're sharing some of the many lessons we've learned over the last 6 months as part-time van lifers in the UK. Right, so quick fire questions, Q&A.
Okay.
Quick fire. Now, I know you talk a lot, and I know you're not a deep thinker. So I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to let Mark answer in his words, preferably not too many of them. And then I'm going to answer as well. I have to say I do talk a lot as well. So, right. Question number 1. Why did you decide to buy a campervan in the first place?
Because you wanted one, my darling. I didn't have a Scooby ever thought of buying a campervan, but you
Forced you.
pecked and pecked and pecked.
Dragged you to caravan and campervan shows. Mine was quite shallow. I watched people on YouTube who were building campervans and who were living in campervans, and I got all romantic about it, and I just thought it looked like a really great idea. And the more I did a bit of digging on YouTube, and the more I found people of our age using campervans, I was just a bit hooked, because we'd never done any caravanning or campervanning or camping at all. Right.
Whoa. So I need to change my answer then.
Right.
Why did I buy a campervan? Because you were watching videos of people building campervans and you wanted me to build one, and buying one was a better option.
Yeah, okay. Number 2, why did we choose Pete, i.e. the make and model that we bought?
I think size was a large factor in it. And then this layout was our best guess of what we thought we needed.
I think the reason we chose Pete was it was the right price for our budget.
Yes, slightly under.
It was slightly under budget. If we go by our final budget and not by our first budget, because when we very first started looking at campervans,
Naively.
oh God, naive, we were looking at sort of 8 to 10,000.
Oh, I thought 15.
Well,
Anyway.
I think I was initially looking even less than that. And we learned very, very quickly that we were not going to be able to get what we wanted in the price range we were looking at. And it kept going up in sort of £5,000 increments, didn't it? Well, we'll look at something for 20,000. Okay, that's not going to work. 25,000. Okay, that's not going to work. No. So actually our budget ended up around about the 40,000 mark. Pete did come in a bit under budget. We've spent quite a bit kind of making it ours, haven't we? But it was the right layout, the right budget, and also it was actually really quite local to us. And
Yes.
We bought it through Motorhome Depot, through a broker, but it was a private sale, and the people who were selling it lived in the town closest to us, didn't they, in Peterborough, hence why she's called Pete. What's been your favourite trip so far in the van?
Is it Grassington?
Grassington.
Yeah, we went
Yorkshire
to the
Dales.
Yorkshire Dales, and the rolling hillside with the stone walls were absolutely idyllic. I love that.
Yeah.
And in Grassington, they had that lovely riverside
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, it was
Colour
beautiful.
beautiful.
I mean, that was gorgeous. I can't have the same one as you.
No, you're not allowed.
I would
I've
say
bags in that.
I would say I've loved pretty much everywhere we've been, to be honest. But I think my favourite, if I'm not allowed to have the Yorkshire Dales, would probably be when we went to Belper. Now, Belper itself wasn't my favourite, but the campsite, the view from the campsite,
Yes.
was outstanding. It was just beautiful. What's the worst or most challenging experience you've had in Pete?
Well, I didn't enjoy our first pub stop. The pub was a bit of a chain pub, so the beer and the food wasn't up to the standard I think we expected. And the car park was a bit of a collective area for people in the evenings, revving their bikes,
Boy
revving their
racers.
car. Yeah. And I always felt a little bit unsafe.
I would say there's a lesson to be learned there, though. Don't be put off by your first experience if your first experience isn't what you expect it to be, because it's just one experience, isn't it? For me, the most challenging experience you've had, we went to Weymouth. We had a bit of a fallout. I think that was probably the first long trip we'd done in the van.
The weather was atrocious.
The weather was atrocious. I think there was a little bit of cabin fever. We'd been together in the van nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a learning curve to living together in a very small space. And
go for long walks by yourself.
Well, there is that, but when the weather's really bad, that's not so easy. So I think that was my worst experience. But again, you know, it's just a learning curve, isn't it? You just get used to a different way of living and knowing, you know, learning a bit of tolerance. Anyway, moving on. How easy or difficult was it to adjust to driving and parking the camper van?
I found it very easy. I drive a van with no rear view anyway. Once I got used to the clutch point and having the higher gear stick, it's sort of in the dashboard, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's in a strange place.
Once I got used to that,
and remembering to put the handbrake on.
The handbrake right down there on the right instead of up high on
where
the
you
left.
can see it.
Yeah, but no, it became very natural very quickly. Yes.
I was completely different. I really struggled to get my head around driving it. I've said this in videos previously. I don't know why I did, because it's not like I'd never driven anything this big before. But for some reason, I got a complete block around it, and I had to go and have some therapy, some hypnotherapy, eye movement therapy, to get me over my fear of driving it. And now driving it doesn't bother me at all. I've just done a video. Last week's video was about my solo trip, and I had a lot of anxiety about the travel, but I think it was a solo travel, not the driving the van or parking the van up.
So I think you didn't like reversing this because of the amount of visibility you had. And like I said, I've driven a van with no rear view mirror and had to use side mirrors. And over the 8 years I've had that, I just trust what I can see in those mirrors.
Yeah, I think the next van we have will be newer, and it will almost certainly come with a reversing camera. But in some ways, I'm kind of glad that I haven't relied on a reversing camera, and I've been forced to reverse it without and get better at doing it without. Next question. What has surprised you most about camper van life?
The fact that it's so enjoyable. I couldn't relate to it and couldn't see how I would enjoy it. And actually, what it's done is ripped me away from home, where I'm constantly finding jobs to do. It's made me slow down.
Yeah, you don't relax well, do you?
I don't. Get up at 7, quick breakfast, then I want to be doing stuff. I think back home, I'll not sit down until we eat in the evening about 8, and after 8, I'll relax. But other than that, I'm on the go all the day.
I would say, though, I think the camper van and the style of travel that we do feeds into that really well for you, because, you know, you could say, well, go on a holiday and you can relax. But actually, you're not great when there's nothing to do. And in a van, there's always something to do.
We went to a resort, and we used to get out of the hotel, go down to the beach, bit of breakfast on the beach, and an hour later, I'd leave on the beach, and I'd go for a run.
Weren't you?
I'd go back to the hotel, change my sports kit, go for a run, do some exercises, and then meet you again, because I just couldn't sit on the beach and read a book. I can't do it.
But when we're in the camper van, we're normally doing something. Very rarely are we doing this, just sitting in the van, you know, chilling, apart from later in the evening when we've had a busy day and we're tired. We're only in the van really now actually it is getting quite late. It's 6 o'clock, but it's also chucking it down with rain outside.
Well, we got here at about 1:30.
Yeah.
Cup of tea.
Straight out.
Something to eat, straight out for a walk.
Yeah. So I think I've been surprised, if I'm honest, by how much more relaxed you are. Apart from how much it's helped you to relax, I think what I've found is how comfortable and calm I feel when I'm in the van. I have a brain that never switches off, and it's that when I step in the van, something puts the brakes on my brain. I do find, even if I'm at home, if I'm feeling a bit like my brain is on overdrive, I'll come and sit in the van. Have you had any problems or breakdowns?
The van's been perfect, mechanically and everything really. It's been perfect.
Flawless.
But we did have that annoying electrical beep beep, beep, because we accidentally put something on top of the power unit and turned it off. And for an hour and 50 miles worth of driving, poor old Pete was trying to tell us there was a problem.
And we weren't listening. We actually ended up ripping the radio out. I'll put a link to the video of that one. Oh, it was driving us nuts. The van itself has been flawless. We do have breakdown and recovery cover, just because I think you'd be really foolish not to have cover in a 14-year-old vehicle.
There was that red flashing light about the oil.
Oh.
And when you have the service done and the oil changed, there's two things they have to reset. They have to reset the service interval reminder, and there's another oil change reminder, and it often gets overlooked. And we googled it, and there is a separate light that flashes 5 times every 30 seconds to say you're due an oil change. And we know the oil change had been done within the time frame because you have the receipts.
There's a couple of questions here I forgot to mention before we started recording. We had a little practice. What do you love most about owning Pete?
See, I wasn't ready for this.
I know.
I don't know. What do I love? Well, the fact that it makes me take time off being busy to go and travel and spend time with you and the dogs.
So that's not about Pete, that's about the lifestyle, isn't it?
Okay.
Having the van. And that's okay.
Yes,
it
forced me into a more relaxed lifestyle. Yeah. There we go.
So what do I love most about owning Pete? Freedom. I think the freedom to just follow the weather. And I don't think, if we've talked about this before, if we had a caravan, I don't think we would use it as much as we do Pete, because it would be more hassle to get it sort of set up and ready to go and hitched up. And you can't do things like pub stops with a caravan, I don't think. So I think it's the freedom and flexibility to just get up and go. And I love the fact that if you book a hotel, or you book a weekend away, you normally have to book it a bit in advance. And if the weather changes before you get there, you're kind of stuck, or you're going to lose the cost of the hotel if you change your mind. But you can just, follow the weather, and I think that's the freedom that I love.
And that's how we do it. The BBC have a 5-day forecast, and if we know we're going to go away, we sit down and watch the 5-day forecast and say, where's going to be sunny, where's going to be wet, and we choose where we're going to go.
I'm laughing because we chose Suffolk.
It's raining.
It's chucking it down.
Everywhere's raining this weekend.
All right. Next question. What do you wish you'd known before buying a camper van? I didn't give you this warning either.
No. I can't think of anything, really.
I wish we'd been a little bit more realistic about the budget. I think we discovered that along the way. We did so well with this van. We got the layout, I would say 90 to 95% correct for us. I wish I'd known more about off-grid power and being able to be a bit more self-sufficient, because I don't know what this van would be like off-grid, because it doesn't have any additional power other than a 14-year-old leisure battery.
So do you think we could have found this layout of van with a good off-grid capability for our budget?
Not unless we'd bought a previous self-build.
Right.
I think if somebody else had done a self-build and we were happy to buy a self-build, we could have probably done that. And that might be another question to add in here, really. Why did we buy a professional conversion, which we probably paid more for than buying somebody else's self-build?
Because a professional build has been proven. It's one of perhaps 100. So they would have had professionals build the first one, designed it and built the first one, but there would have been snagging. But by the time they got to the 100th, all those snags would have been solved. Whereas a self-build, you don't know the experience of the guy building it. It may have been the first one he ever built. Yeah. And he may have been a gardener. Putting your plumbing in.
It's we wouldn't have known the quality of the build, and it's not so much. Ooh, you've just knocked the camera. It's not so much the build quality that you can see. It's the things that you can't see, like the wiring and the gas and all of those bits that can kill you.
I think with some of these like HAB checks, some of the companies don't like doing self-builds because they're committed to saying something's safe, but they can't see where the wiring is. That wiring chafing somewhere?
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. How comfortable is it sleeping in the van?
Very comfortable. So we had a couple of teething problems. We found the cushions not as comfortable as we wanted, but then you got a mattress topper, and it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Sleep like a baby.
I don't find it as comfortable as Mark does, but you could sleep on a clothes wire to be
I have
fair.
fallen asleep standing up before.
I don't find it massively comfortable. It's definitely better with a mattress topper. When we first started using the van, when we first got the van, the dogs were in their own bed and they were sort of trapped. Sounds awful, doesn't it?
Confined.
We kind of confined them to the front of the van, and then we allowed them to get under the bed so they could have a little bit more sort of heat from the heater. Yeah. And now they just own the bed, to be fair. So because you can sleep through anything, they don't bother you that much. But to be fair, they're only little dogs, but they take up way more than 3/4 of the bed. So between you and the two dogs, I don't end up with an awful lot of bed. And I am the biggest of the four of us. So when I'm on my own, without the dogs and without Mark, I sleep like a baby, and it's very, very comfortable. How do you plan your trips? Do you book sites or do you just wing it?
I like to plan. Ultimate detail. I like to know where I'm going, when I'm going to arrive, when I'm leaving, how much it's going to cost, and you like to just wing it.
Don't answer my questions. Yeah, you do like to have a plan. I don't wing it because Mark would be a nervous wreck. Well, you wouldn't be a nervous wreck, but you wouldn't be comfortable, would you? I think if I was left to my own devices, I'd be more willing to just wing it. I think we will wing it more the more confident we get, and the more confident we are about the van's off-grid capability.
Yes, I suppose if we said we're going to drive for 3 hours and just find a campsite when we're there, and we can't find one, but we know that this has a full off-grid capability with no problem.
I think we'll get more comfortable winging it and just sort of wild parking and things. Right, so
quickly going back to that, so when we change this van for the next one, we're going to make sure the next one has solar and a
better
big
batteries
and an extra power bank.
And a good power bank, yes.
Yeah.
What are your must-have campervan accessories or gadgets?
I think we very quickly realised we needed Wi-Fi. And it's not that I doom scroll all day, but I like to plan where I'm going to walk on all trails. I like to see what attractions are in the local area. If there's any pubs that serve meals in the evening, so we can go out for an evening meal. I don't like to miss out on something. If I go to an area, I like to know what that area has to offer. And we found very quickly, if you sit inside a tin box, you get no Wi-Fi on your phone.
Yeah.
And I was sick to death of sitting on the roof,
shouting
into the skylight. So we put a Avtex Wi-Fi system in.
And it's made a huge difference. I think there's only been one place that we've not had a very good signal, and that was Campervan Campout.
And it's not that there was no signal, it's just that there was 5,000 people trying to use the same mast.
People. Yeah.
Because I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning when everyone else was asleep, and the reception was fantastic. At 9 o'clock in the morning when everyone else was awake, it was horrendous.
Yeah. So Wi-Fi, I think, was a game changer. Accessories and gadgets for me, the air fryer. Oh, I love it because
you know your place in the kitchen.
It just makes life a lot easier. I've never used the oven in here.
Why do women get married in white? So they match all the other kitchen appliances.
So the air fryer I really love. And I think the CCTV.
Yes.
We've got this little, It's actually a baby monitor, I think. It's rigged up as CCTV in the van. And if we want to go out for a meal in the evenings, we'll sometimes take the van, park the van up in the car park, put the CCTV on, and we sit with a phone like open, constantly showing us what they're doing. And it adds a little element of security. I don't suppose it adds a load of security.
We were sat in the pub last time having a meal, and I realised that if I couldn't see that they were okay, I'd have been anxious and I wouldn't have enjoyed the meal. And I realised that because I could see they were asleep and they were fine, I relaxed and enjoyed the meal. It made a difference of enjoying the meal or not. Yes.
Right, I'm going to throw in another question that isn't on the list.
Yes.
Kind of the counter to your must-haves. What's been the biggest waste of money accessory or gadget we've bought?
Okay, so you didn't like the original bin, so you had another bin installed on the cabinet door, and I kept hitting it with my hip. Every time I went past it, I caught it with my hip.
And it didn't annoy you at all, did it?
And
it didn't get cross.
We had a perfectly good bin down there, twice the size, and then we've got a little bin up here that I keep walking into. So that was it. I did like the bin.
I didn't like the bin that was already on there because it was right in the doorway, and you couldn't put you call it like a doormat underneath it because it was too low to the floor. So I bought one of these expanding bins that I thought everybody on YouTube said was brilliant. And I have to admit, it wasn't ideal. It did kind of get in the way. So now we don't have a bin.
So it's
we
collapsible.
use a bag on a hook.
When it was collapsed, it was fine. But as soon as you put something like an empty dog food tin in it, it suddenly came that wide. And
it took get through.
And that is the narrowest part of the whole van.
Yeah, okay. I'll concede that the bin wasn't the best idea.
So can I put the old one back on?
No. So the accessory that I probably bought that I wouldn't bother buying again were tin mugs. I bought these really beautiful tin mugs with lovely floral designs, but I find it makes my tea taste metallic. I don't like it. So we've got proper mugs now. The other thing that I bought that was a waste of time and I wouldn't bother, it was a pop-up, like collapsible dish drainer.
Yeah.
I thought that would be useful, but that's not in here anymore. I guess what I would say is solve a problem when you realise you've got a problem. Don't try and solve the problem before you've got it. And that's what I think I was doing. I was buying stuff to solve a problem we didn't know whether we had or not. Final question, because this is going on quite a long time and I'll have a lot of editing to do to make this not be 2 hours long. Would you recommend campervan ownership to somebody else who might it suit or not suit?
Well, I don't know about ownership. I would recommend people hire one to have a go, and if they like it as much as we do, consider ownership.
Okay.
We didn't. We just bought one.
No, that's because I wasn't willing to kind of wait and hire one. I think it would be very sensible, and I certainly would say don't buy on a whim. Do a lot of research. It took us a year nearly to buy Pete, and we did an awful lot of list making around what we knew we wanted, what we didn't want. We did visit quite a lot of shows. Well, I say quite a lot.
YouTube research.
We visited 2 big shows. And we went and had a look at a few in dealerships. We did watch a lot of YouTube, and I think one of the best bits of advice I think I could probably give somebody is figure out what you absolutely don't want first. And once you know what you definitely don't want, then it's a case of figuring out what you do want and what you're willing to compromise on. I do think it would be very sensible to hire. I'm just not very sensible. In terms of who it would suit and who it wouldn't suit, I don't think it would suit you if you like creature comforts too much. If you like,
your palatial bathroom.
Yeah, if you're not willing to rough it a little bit. I mean, we are not roughing it as much as some people do in their vans. We've got the toilet and the shower and hot running water, and I'm sure some van lifers would probably say we are wimps when it comes to camper vans. But if you're not willing to go out in the dark and the cold and the wet to go across and have a very quick shower in communal showers, it's probably not going to be for you. But I think for anybody who just wants to have the freedom and flexibility to travel when they want to travel, to discover places that they probably wouldn't discover just in a car, I think it's probably one of the best things, especially in retirement. I think it's probably one of the best things you could do in retirement. Do you not think?
Yes, yes. It's a good use of your leisure time.
Oh, massively.
Instead of just sitting down watching television every time,
Yeah.
actually get out and see places. And I was amazed how many beautiful places are in the UK.
I know they're hidden, aren't they? They're not. They're off the beaten track, and I think so. I think with the van, I think we've said this on other videos, because we stay on campsites, we end up on campsites that are normally off the beaten track, and therefore they've been positioned where they are because they're in lovely parts of the country. I think so. You've got access, like today, getting access down those country paths down to the river. I don't think you'd just stumble across that.
No.
Even if you came to the Woodbridge, I'm not sure you'd come out to Waldringfield. Can't remember the name.
Yeah, Waldringfield. Yes.
And you certainly probably wouldn't have come down the track that we came down. We did that because that's the track that the campsite is off. So I just think you see different places.
Yes, if we'd have come by car, we'd have driven to that pub, parked in the pub car park, walked up and down the river a little bit and got into the pub.
Yeah, I think so.
And that would have been it.
I mean, other people might not be like that. Maybe you're more adventurous than us, but I definitely feel like before we got the camper van, we weren't as
outdoorsy.
Well, outdoorsy, yeah, but also just getting off the beaten track. I think we've probably covered quite a lot of questions there, so I think we'll leave it there. And I'm going to have to edit this down massively.
She talks so much. I can't get a word in edgeways.
Listen, I know I talk a lot, and this might have gone on a little while. I don't know how long it'll be in the edit, but hopefully it's been useful. Just getting our perspective on why we bought the camper van, what we've liked, and what we've learned from our time using it. We've actually done, how many miles have we done in this now?
It's 39,500 and we bought it at 34,500. So we've done
5,000 miles. So 5,000 miles, I don't think is bad for part-timers.
Over winter.
Over winter, yes. Yeah. So we've actually done 39 overnight stays in the van, not including this break. These 2 days.
Halfway through November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
Well, 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
That's the whole point of this video.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Didn't tell me.
So yeah, I think that's pretty good going. So I hope you've found it useful. Anyway, shall we grab some dinner and stop talking?